Loneliness is spreading like wildfire. It affects millions of people around the world. In the UK, 60% of young adults aged 18 to 34 report feeling lonely regularly. In the US, a staggering 46% of the entire population experiences frequent loneliness. These figures are alarming. They highlight a growing epidemic that demands our attention. Loneliness is not just a personal struggle. It has far-reaching consequences for society as a whole. When individuals feel isolated, their productivity and well-being suffer. This can lead to a decline in community involvement and civic engagement. The costs of loneliness, both human and economic, are significant and continue to rise. The causes of this loneliness epidemic are complex and multifaceted. However, understanding the nature of loneliness and its historical roots is crucial to finding effective solutions. We need to recognize that loneliness is not simply about being alone. It's about a profound sense of disconnection and a lack of meaningful relationships. This epidemic is not going away on its own. It requires a collective effort from individuals, communities, and policymakers to address this growing societal challenge. Loneliness is not determined by the number of people around us. It is a deeply personal and subjective experience. A person can be surrounded by others and still feel utterly alone. Conversely, someone living alone may have a rich social life and feel deeply connected. Loneliness is about a perceived lack of meaningful connections. It's about feeling unseen, unheard, and misunderstood. Our perceptions of social interactions play a significant role. Someone struggling with loneliness might misinterpret social cues, assuming negativity where none exists. External factors like success, attractiveness, or social skills do not guarantee protection from loneliness. It can affect anyone, regardless of their background or circumstances. It's important to remember that loneliness is not a sign of weakness. It is a human experience that deserves compassion and understanding. Recognizing the subjective nature of loneliness is essential. It helps us move away from judgment and towards empathy. We need to create a space where people feel comfortable expressing their feelings of loneliness without shame or stigma. Humans are social creatures by nature. For millennia, our survival depended on our ability to cooperate and live in groups. Anthropological evidence suggests that our ancestors lived in close-knit communities of 50 to 150 individuals. These groups provided safety, support, and shared resources. Social bonds were essential for survival. Rejection from the group meant facing dangers alone, putting individuals at a significant disadvantage. This evolutionary history has left an indelible mark on our brains. Even though the survival threats of prehistoric times are less immediate today, the need for connection remains deeply ingrained. Our brains are wired to seek out social bonds and experience pain when these bonds are broken. Loneliness, in a sense, is a signal from our bodies urging us to reconnect and rebuild those vital social connections. Understanding this evolutionary context helps us understand why loneliness is so painful. It's not simply a matter of preference, but a deeply rooted biological need that shapes our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. For much of human history, close-knit communities were the norm. The Industrial Revolution, however, marked a significant shift in social structures. People began moving from rural areas to urban centers in search of work. This migration led to the breakdown of traditional communities and the rise of individualism. The emphasis shifted towards personal achievement and self-reliance. While this change brought about progress in many ways, it also came at a cost. The social safety nets provided by strong communities weakened. Furthermore, advancements in technology and transportation have led to increased mobility. People move more frequently for work or personal reasons, making it more challenging to establish and maintain lasting connections. While this mobility offers new opportunities, it can also contribute to a sense of rootlessness and social fragmentation. This historical context helps us understand how societal changes have contributed to the current loneliness epidemic. The decline of close-knit communities and the rise of individualism have created a landscape where loneliness can thrive. Section 5. The modern lifestyle and the rise of isolation. The modern world, while offering incredible conveniences, also presents unique challenges to social connection. Our always-on culture, driven by technology, can lead to a constant state of distraction. We spend hours on our devices, often at the expense of face-to-face interactions. Social media, while connecting us virtually, can sometimes exacerbate feelings of loneliness. The curated perfection often presented online can fuel social comparison and feelings of inadequacy. We may end up feeling more alone while scrolling through feeds filled with seemingly perfect lives. Moreover, busy schedules and long working hours leave many people with limited time and energy for socializing. Convenience often takes precedence over connection. We opt for takeout instead of shared meals, online shopping instead of trips to local stores, and streaming services instead of community events. These modern lifestyle factors, while seemingly benign, contribute to a gradual erosion of social connections. We become increasingly isolated, even when surrounded by people and possibilities. Section 6 of the dire health consequences of chronic loneliness. The impact of chronic loneliness extends far beyond mere emotional discomfort. It poses a severe threat to our physical and mental well-being. Studies have shown a strong correlation between loneliness and a range of health problems. Chronic loneliness increases the risk of premature death from all causes. Its impact on mortality is comparable to smoking 15 cigarettes a day, making it a greater risk factor than obesity. Lonely individuals are more susceptible to heart disease, stroke, dementia, and Alzheimer's disease. Loneliness also weakens the immune system, making individuals more vulnerable to infections and illnesses. It can contribute to chronic inflammation, which is linked to a host of chronic diseases. Furthermore, loneliness can negatively impact mental health, increasing the risk of depression, anxiety, and even suicidal thoughts. The health consequences of chronic loneliness are undeniable and severe. It's time we treat this epidemic with the seriousness it deserves. Addressing loneliness is not just about improving quality of life, it's about saving lives. Section 7, trapped in a vicious cycle. The self-sustaining nature of loneliness. Loneliness often traps individuals in a vicious cycle. When someone feels lonely, they may withdraw from social situations, fearing judgment or rejection. This withdrawal, however, only serves to reinforce their feelings of isolation. Loneliness can also distort our perceptions of social interactions. Lonely individuals may misinterpret social cues, seeing hostility or disinterest where none exists. This negativity bias can lead to further withdrawal and avoidance of social situations. The longer this cycle continues, the harder it becomes to break free. Loneliness can become a self-fulfilling prophecy, leading to the very social isolation that individuals fear. Breaking this cycle requires conscious effort, self-awareness, and a willingness to challenge negative thought patterns. It's essential to recognize that this cycle is not insurmountable. With the right support and strategies, individuals can escape the grip of loneliness and build fulfilling social connections. Section 8, breaking free steps to combat loneliness. Combating loneliness requires a multifaceted approach that addresses both individual and societal factors. While systemic changes are crucial, individuals can take proactive steps to break free from the cycle of loneliness. Self-examination is an important first step. Reflect on your feelings, thoughts, and behaviors. Identify any negative thought patterns that contribute to social withdrawal. Challenge these thoughts and replace them with more balanced perspectives. Make a conscious effort to engage in activities that bring you joy and connect you with others. Join a club, volunteer, take a class, or simply strike up conversations with people you encounter in your daily life. Even small interactions can make a difference. Remember that building meaningful connections takes time and effort. Don't get discouraged if your first attempts don't lead to instant friendships. Be patient, persistent, and open to new experiences. If you're struggling to cope with loneliness, don't hesitate to seek professional help. A therapist can provide support, guidance, and strategies to manage negative thoughts and build healthy social connections. Section 9. A call to action, addressing the loneliness crisis. The loneliness epidemic is a public health crisis that demands urgent attention. We can no longer afford to ignore the profound impact of loneliness on individuals and society as a whole. Addressing this crisis requires a collective effort. Policymakers should prioritize social connection in their agendas. Investing in community centers, parks, and public spaces can create opportunities for social interaction. Promoting flexible work arrangements and affordable childcare can alleviate the time constraints that hinder social connection. Schools and universities should incorporate social-emotional learning into their curricula. Teaching children and young adults about empathy, communication, and healthy relationship building is essential for combating loneliness at its roots. Ultimately, we need to shift our cultural values away from an excessive focus on individualism and material success. We need to create a society that values connection, compassion, and belonging. Material possessions and achievements can never fill the void of human connection. The time to act is now. Let's work together to build a world where everyone feels seen, heard, and connected.